Okay, so here is how I reflash, or in this case reprogram, my ESCs with BLHeli. I'm using the blue Series 20s from Hobby King, and the orange wires here are my ESC signal wires. I left them long enough that I had hoped they'd be able to stay connected while this was opened and be easy to get in and out of here. I didn't think of mounting it this way with 2 extra nuts to hold my board upside down while I'm working on it, and I made this just a little too short to leave connected, but it doesn't matter because I have to disconnect it to reflash them anyway. So, and it's still pretty handy to work on things like this. It really has been nice today as I've been modifying a few things. This is a new serial port that I added on my serial port 3 connection. This is serial port 2 that I use for my GPS. This is going to be my sense wire for my pack voltage. I still don't know which pin to connect it to. I have to look that up one of these days and get that connected. And I have the GPS and the receiver disconnected right now, just so it's easier to work on things. I'm using the one-wire interface, which this is just a standard FTDI adapter. This is the adapter I made to go with it, and I have photos posted on Flight Test of how I made this. It's just, the instructions are included with BLHeli. It's just 1, maybe 2 resistors. I don't remember off the top of my head. I think it's 2. Or a resistor and a diode, probably, now that I think about it. And I have it hooked up here. I made this jumper wire that comes from the ground and signal here. The ground wire just goes around and connects to where I have an open ground on the back of my Discovery board here. You can see it's just connected to an open ground. And the signal wire comes and connects to whichever ESC I want to reprogram. And I have all 4 of them set up here. So the way this works, I've got it connected to the first one already. I'll connect the USB cable up. And I'm going to bring this over to look at the computer screen here. I have BLHeli up. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit read setup. Oops. What's that? What happened there? It was just working. Oh my goodness. Everything's gone crazy on us. It's probably because I disconnected this while without restarting BLHeli. So let me just restart BLHeli. And hit read setup. And yeah, that's all it was the serial port. It hadn't closed correctly. So BLHeli is now waiting for the ESCs to power up, because they only connect right after they power up. So I'll leave this pointed up here at the screen while I apply power, and once I power this up, you'll see almost instantly it's red. And you can make your change. In this case, I'm bumping my startup power, and then hit right setup, and it's done. So we'll come back here. I'll disconnect my battery. And I know I'm using a full pack and really should be using just a 9-volt or something low current when programming ESCs, but I'm not reflashing them, I'm just programming them, so it's not the best thing. Do as I say, not as I do kind of thing here. But I didn't want to make up a cable to hook up a 9-volt. So I'm going to switch to the second one, and same deal. We'll come back up to the screen. We'll hit read setup. We'll connect the battery. And this one's red. And we will change the startup power. Right setup. Done. And rinse and repeat. Disconnect. Switch over to the next one. I'm hitting read. And I'm going to power up. And bump our power, write it, okay. Same deal, I'm disconnecting my pack, switching to the 4th wire, reconnecting, oh, gotta hit read setup first, so it's going to be waiting. Power, red, increase that, write our setup, and ta-da, we're done. Now we're going to just put this all back together, and once it's back together, I can test to see how it goes. And putting this back together really isn't hard. I'll do it right here so you can see just how simple this setup I've come up with is. All I have to do is remove these 2 nuts, which are just temporary to hold this board here while I have it in this configuration. So I'll take them off. And then I have to take off the real nuts and washers. So this will just take me a second. They're all just finger tight right now. Pull the board off of those 2. Flop it back over. And get these off. And you'll notice right now I have my screws sticking up. I really don't like that. I like having screws down in flight so that if a nut comes loose, the screw stays in, assuming I'm not inverted. It's kind of silly because it will probably still lose the screw, but it's just how I like to do things. But right now, since I'm working on this top board, it's easiest to have the screws pointing up. Once I'm done, I'll go back and switch them one by one so that they're pointing down like everything else. I'm just going to tuck these under here for now to keep them out of the way. And this wire here isn't connected to anything at all, so it's just going to get tucked under here to keep it out of the way. It just comes up here to a pin on this header, and there's nothing connected there at all. So I'm going to reconnect this. It's keyed. You probably can't see it, but there's a little arrow on that one, and all the arrows go on the top pins here in the same direction. And just to give the grand tour, this is my 4 motor connections. This is what connects my IMU, which is down here, which is a BMP 085, a MPU 6050, and an HMC 5883. I can't quite read it right now and can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but that's the magnetometer, gyro accelerometer, and barometric pressure sensor, which you notice I don't even have the foam over it like you're supposed to. I will eventually. Right now I just don't, because I'm still testing things, and it's actually working really good, even set up like that. So we'll put this back on here and hope nothing gets pinched. It feels a little stiff, so I got some wires that are in the way, so we'll just tuck them out of the way a bit better. Drop this back on. And it feels like I got something, yeah, I got a wire pinched in there. What do I have handy I can poke that through with? A little bit of Velcro. Stiff, heavy-duty Velcro. One of the nice things about the build this time is I used this plexiglass, which unfortunately still has the clear plastic on it, but eventually I'll be able to see in there and see what's going on. Should make hooking things up a lot easier. And we'll tighten this up. You'll also notice here the ESC closest to my hands right now is held on with self-fusing silicone tape, which I'm trying out. The other 3 are still held on how I've always done it with zip ties. But I kind of like the silicone tape, and I'm curious to see how well it does for this kind of use. It's way more expensive than zip ties, but it holds really well, and I think it'll work good. You can also see I added foam pads under my ESCs, because the reason I had to stop using these ESCs for a while was in a bad crash I actually shattered the 16 megahertz oscillator on one of them when they were just pressed up against the arms with no protection, so now I give them a little bit of padding. And there we go. I just have to reconnect my receiver, power for the GPS, and this is going to be cleaned up maybe even later tonight. Probably not, I'm running out of time, but soon, next couple days. And then find the one that's labeled for GPS right here, UART2. And red to red. I use red for RX coming off of the board, because R for R seems easy for me to remember. And there we go. It's ready to test. So that's what I'm going to go do next. Hopefully that shows just how easy this is to do.